Hello and welcome back to the She Who Dares Wins podcast, and my guest this week is the firefighter Molly. She pivoted her career from teaching kids gymnastics to joining the fire service and ultimately becoming part of the technical rescue team. This one's about resilience, grit and choosing the hard thing on purpose. We're going to talk about Molly's career pivot, get into some of her wildest rescues, and finally we discuss the key attributes that you need to become the perfect firefighter. All right, let's get into it.
Hello and welcome back to the She Who Dares Wins podcast. My guest today is Molly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Molly, She Who Dares Wins. Can you tell me how you've dared and won?
Oh, I think that's a hard question.
Okay.
But I think I've got one thing that's like, it stands out. And then, I don't know, I feel like I'm quite a daring person anyway. I joined the fire service 6 years ago. And that was a complete sort of career change for me. Prior to that, I was a gymnastics coach. And I didn't have any desire really to be a firefighter. It's not something that had ever crossed my mind. And it just came up in conversation randomly one day. And from that point on, I was like, right, that's what I'm going to do. And I'd gone from sort of a position where I was really comfortable, I was good at my job, I knew exactly what I was doing, to like, I just had to change my lifestyle completely because I wasn't fit enough to be a firefighter particularly.
Okay.
I didn't really know what it was going to entail. So I just went sort of full in training, researching, applied and got in. And it sort of set me up for what my life looks like now. And I think it's the best job in the world. So
you've been in 6 years.
Yeah.
So you were training gymnastics. What did you see a firefighter? Like, what was the thing that changed?
No, so my mum and dad were both in the police.
Okay.
So I sort of grew up in that environment, which then you would sort of think, well, why didn't it cross your mind before?
Yeah.
But I was just never really that interested. My mum and dad didn't particularly like love their jobs, and I knew that I just wanted to do something I loved. I didn't know what it was, but my mum brought it up. She said, well, I was like looking for more of a career because although I was comfortable where I was, I didn't see myself doing it forever. And she said, well, what about joining the police? And I was like, I don't really. You've never enjoyed it. Why would I then want to sort of see it? It doesn't appeal to me. She said, well, what about being a paramedic? I was like, you could not pay me enough to deal with other people's bodily fluids, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she said, well, what about being a firefighter? And I just sort of thought, well, why have I never thought of that before? I was always really sporty. I liked practical things, doing things. I liked things that were constantly changing. So it just sort of, that was the point at which I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
As you applied, because with firefighters, you don't always get accepted in like the rounds of pickup, do you?
It's like an application process, and it's like a bit of I don't know how else to word it, like a knockout process.
Right.
So if you don't pass a stage, you don't get to carry on. It's like a staged application.
Oh, okay.
I was lucky enough to get in first time. I mean, I say lucky enough. I'd sort of put everything into it. You know, I've seen people go into it and say, yeah, it's sort of what I want to do, and then be a bit surprised when they've stumbled at sort of the first or second hurdle.
Right.
Where I'd sort of gone full in, decided it was exactly what I wanted, and chased it. So I started with, it was like an online application, and then you go to psychometric and behavioural testing.
Ooh.
So there's verbal, numerical reasoning and mechanical, I think they call it mechanical reasoning. So they're all online tests, just checking that you've got sort of a basic maths, English.
Yeah.
And then a practical brain, because that's a big thing in our job.
Yeah.
And then the psychometric is it's like they give you different situations, and it's like, oh, what would you do in this situation? Again, to start with, it's all online.
Right.
So you just have to click through, and it gives you maybe 4 choices of what you would do in this situation. And they've obviously got something they're looking for. I don't know what it is. But,
you can't
and you get through that bit.
it.
And then you go to physical testing. So I had to do the BLEEP test to, I think it was 8.4. It's changed now, but it was 8.4 on the day to then get to 9.6 on the start of your training course if you were successful.
That's hard. I remember doing it at school.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I got to.
It was always my least favourite thing. So I had to train to do it, and I was literally like, I think the neighbours thought I was mental. I was running up and down the street because I live on a hill, and I thought, well, if I can do it on a hill, surely I can do it
Yeah,
on a
on
flat
the
where I
flat,
need to. So
yeah.
I had the BLEEP test on it. You can get it on Spotify, and just having it in my ears, sort of marked out 20 metres and set off running. And when I first did it, I was like, this is not going to go well. Like I said, I sort of fell in love with it. And anyone that knows me now would tell you that I love my job. But I sort of fell in love with the process of learning to do it as well.
Okay.
And actually, I feel like I loved that more than I actually love the job itself.
So the challenge of knowing that you've got to get through more than an interview, it's just way more than that, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
the physicality of it.
And I think I sort of thrive in that challenging myself, be it physically or intellectually. Just sort of, I don't like to be stagnant or stale, so to have the opportunity to chase something. But I also thrive off like a set, this is what you need. So because I knew exactly where the mark was, and I was so far off it, I could literally just sort of chase it.
Just get to it. What was the hardest part of was there anything in the training that you knew you had to do that you struggled with and that was kind of like your weakness?
Do you mean the training to get into the job or the training course once I'd joined?
Oh, well, both.
I don't know. So the process for getting in, obviously, I knew what the physical sort of limit was that I had to hit. You knew that a maths question, you either get it right or you get it wrong.
Yeah.
But then when I got to interview, it's subjective, isn't it? So that for me was a challenge. I've already told you I don't really like talking about myself. This is going to make it look different, hopefully. But to sell yourself, and I was at a point actually where I was quite young. Looking back, I joined on my 21st birthday.
Oh wow!
So I was 19, 20 when I was interviewing against people that on my course, I think there was one other lad my age and everybody else was in at least their late 20s. So the life experience you get to talk about from that.
Yeah.
And I sort of look, and not in a derogatory way, but I always say up to that point, I never had a proper job. I worked with preschool children, pretending to be an animal 5 days a week, and I loved it. But, to find real life examples to give at an interview for what is a proper job.
Yeah.
I was like, that was quite a challenge. And I probably didn't paint the best picture of myself. I obviously did well enough to be offered a job, but that for me was the hardest part of that process. Going then to training school, none of it was, not in a big-headed way, but none of it was difficult because I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
So I've got a friend at the moment she's just joined Greater Manchester, and she's going through the training course now, and I am so jealous because it was 15 weeks of just learning, repeating, and like just chasing, getting better. And it sounds really cheesy, but I absolutely loved it. Just like some days were theory, and don't get me wrong, there was like hard because every day you'd have 2 or 3 lessons about concepts that you'd never even thought about before.
Right.
Because you go from anything from putting a ladder up to sort of working out water pressures for pumping, or then learning about railways and the terminology they use in industry, what's safe, what's not safe, and you're like trying to cram all this information in your head, and it's a lot to take on. And then the next hour you're running around on the drill yard. I did it in the summer, so it was like 20 odd degrees, and again just sort of learning, making sure you're not dropping the ball. And so it was taxing but not difficult, if that makes sense.
What's the drop-off rate for those in training, do you know?
Not very high.
Right, okay.
They're big on, well, especially in West Yorkshire, they're really big on once they've brought someone into the role, they like to keep them.
Okay.
So the drop-off rate prior to training is huge. So they normally get sort of anywhere up to 7,000 applicants a cycle.
Right.
I think it's...
Wow, there's a ghost in the studio.
It's decreased slightly because they've been recruiting more regularly.
Right.
But they have sort of thousands of applicants for hundreds of positions. So the drop-off rate at that point is relatively high, especially for women. I think just because... I don't really know why, actually.
So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because if it's if it's like online questioning rather than
Yeah.
the physical side, it's something to do with.
Maybe the mindset or the...
Yeah. I wonder if it's to do
And-
with decision making as well, because that's got to be a key part.
potentially. I think, and it's really interesting to look at the girls in the job now.
Yeah.
There's like and it's not a definite, like, everyone is like that, but the majority of girls that are in the job have got, like, glaring similarities in personality, in interests outside of work. I think it lends itself to a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I almost, like, regret saying that, because you can't help but focus on the girls and, oh, what do all the girls look like? Are they all, because it's such a minority,
Yeah.
you're sort of drawn to it. Obviously, we've just had a conversation. They're always focusing on the women and what they can do, but you're sort of drawn to that because it is such a minority.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you, because the same in construction. When you look around at who's in there, it's very much those that don't mind getting the hands dirty.
Yeah.
Can't be sat. I couldn't be sat behind a desk. Like to challenge physical and mentally, and it's not for everyone. I imagine the fire service is the same. Like, it takes a certain person. Whilst you don't want to be like, oh, like takes a but I think it does. That's why when we try and fit, like, say, well, we need more women. Like, I actually disagree with that. I think we should let the ones that want to come in.
Oh, do you know what?
But-
You are the first person I have ever heard voice that.
Right.
And that is what I believe.
Yeah.
And I've done some stuff at work. There is a big push for minority recruitment,
Right.
at an operational level. I think across the service, in non-ops roles, you've got quite a broad spectrum of people, but operationally there's a lack of minorities. But I do just think that, well, some people want to do it and some
Yeah.
people don't. Why are we trying to strong arm people that don't want to do it? Because they're going to get here and either not be very good at it because they don't want to do it,
Yeah.
or it's going to cause conflict because all of a sudden you've pushed people into a role that doesn't suit them,
Yeah.
and that just causes problems.
Yeah.
And I did some work with the recruitment department to try and encourage more women to try out, and I stopped doing it because I realised that they just wanted women. They didn't want the right women.
Okay.
Or I won't say that's what they wanted. It felt like that was what they wanted.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really align with what I believed.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do that job because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
And I don't sort of... They sometimes make it feel as though you're a female firefighter. I'm like, well, no, I'm actually just a firefighter and I happen to be a girl. But so there's a definite sort of type of person that it appeals to.
Yeah.
It's just more obvious
When you're in there.
when you look at the women and group them together. It's like, all right, yeah, me and her are similar actually, and we enjoy the same things. We do a lot of CrossFit, we go outside, we're like practical people. But then you look at all the men and they're all like that too.
Yeah.
And there's obviously sort of more outliers because there's more men there that are potentially more intellectual or sort of their skills lend to that side of it, but it's a little bit more obvious.
Yeah.
Smaller pool, so...
Yeah, that's until you get the bigger pool, which I don't think will ever happen. Like, so many of my mates were like, I would never do your job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, if you just put it into context. I think what they misconstrue is it being an environment that women feel comfortable in, rather than we need to get more in. I'm totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So you made it in, and then you're someone that obviously likes goals and getting somewhere. With the 6-year career, I can imagine you've seen a lot, learnt a lot. What are the best parts of the job?
So I now think that I have the best job in the world.
Okay,
So
right.
I work in technical rescue.
Okay.
So I started on a normal fire engine doing firefighting. Absolutely loved it. You get to go to fires, RTCs, so road traffic collisions. And I worked at Halifax, so the spectrum of incidents you went to were massive.
Right.
But I then applied to join what is now Spen Valley Fire Station, and it's the county's technical rescue team. So we do anything that's complex, anything line or rope rescue, so rescues at height, rescues at depth. Large animals, so you'll go anything bigger than a dog, sheep, cows, deer, horses, we deal with a lot. Large vehicles.
So when you say large animals, so it's an accident with the animal or with the human and animal?
Both.
Right.
So we train to do a trapped rider, generally off a horse. Obviously, not many people ride cows, but we also go to if they get stuck, if they fall over, because horses can be sort of anywhere between half a ton and a ton, a big horse.
Of course,
So trying to stand one of them up if it can't stand up is a physical nightmare, and most people don't have the sort of kit knocking around to do it.
Right.
What else do we do?
So did you say large vehicles?
Large vehicles,
as well?
so anything bigger than a small van.
Okay.
We'll go to any complex RTC, so if a car's on its side or it's the roof, it presents different challenges. We generally have just got more experience in those environments, more kit, bigger kit, better kit than the standard fire engine. And we cover the county and go around, but so you get to see more people, which is nice, because most people sort of, just by the nature of the job, end up staying in their own little area.
Right.
We get to go everywhere, see everyone. And those jobs generally are just a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, you're not putting out a bin fire every night. You sort of get to see different stuff, and it is just good. So we went to a fire, not last night, the night before, and it was I think it was some sort of disused, like, garage. And it was effectively just a big fire. So everyone else is dragging hose around, squirting water. We get to get, like, petrol-powered tools off. So I had a still saw trying to cut through a reinforced steel door. And it's just like, you get to do fun. It's
cool
just fun stuff.
But I'm guessing with that specialism, are the situations heightened as well? So, like, a little bit more extreme?
Generally, yes. So our exposure to sort of trauma is higher than a lot of people, because, one, we're getting spread around the county, so you get drawn into what other people don't go to. And it does just, generally where incidents are more complex or complicated, the outcomes, unfortunately, are never as positive. But, I mean, it just is what it is. You sort of take the rough with the smooth. So.
Yeah. How do you find the mental side of it? Because I think it's one of those jobs, isn't it, where you can kind of brace yourself for what you're going to come up, but it's so broad. And you were so young as well to go into that. Like, how have you kind of... I'm guessing they provide a lot of training to deal with
training support, yeah.
But it is like it's one of those things, isn't it, where you put in a situation you're never going to know until you're kind of there with all the training.
Yeah. So going back to the, like, recruitment side of things, they do, like, a test, and looking back, it was hilarious, because I know the lad now that I rugby tackled across the drill yard. But you do, the closest they can get to emulating that is they called it an empathy test. And again, it's a bit of, like, situational judgment. So you get put in a fake scenario where there is a house on fire, and they set the smokehouse on fire, and you just walking across the drill yard, and someone runs out. It's like, oh, my house is on fire, my dog's in there. And you have to deal with that situation.
Right.
Having no prior experience. And he's called Ads, the lad that was sort of role-playing. I didn't know him at the time. I know him quite well now. And he's a big lad. And I ended up laid on him, like, across the drill yard, to try and, like, talk him down, stop him going back in, that sort of thing.
Ah, okay.
So you get a little bit of that, but like you said, you can't really emulate the trauma, the goriness, the sort of death that you see. And ironically, I was probably underprepared. I just didn't really think about the fact that I was going to see dead people. And I saw quite a lot, actually. My first 12 months in the job, I saw over 10 sort of deceased people.
Jeez, that's like
and they're not all traumatic. We do a lot of work with the ambulance, so you're just breaking in.
Right.
But I don't know, it's not something I've ever dwelled on particularly. Don't get me wrong, it gets heavy when you're going through a lot of it.
Yeah.
And they tend to put in more support at work when that happens. So we had a spate, I think we ended up with 8 fatalities in 7 shifts. One day a couple of years ago, it was a bad, like...
Jesus.
And we ended up getting sent to, like, compulsory psychological assessment. and we're invited to go every year because of the sort of extra trauma that we see.
Yeah.
And I mean, I quite openly talk about it. I did go, and I sort of go relatively regularly, just not even to talk about that, but you find that you sort of getting stressed about other things in life, and you can't help but think, well, is it that's
Is it related?
playing on me?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it bothers me massively, and you'd find that, because you'd think about it a lot,
Yeah.
but then you go to the job and you just sort of, because you're so task focused on what you're doing, you almost don't see it.
Okay, so it's part of the process.
Yeah, so, and you like think about it afterwards, you're like, wow, that was horrible to look at. But while you're in it, you're not really, that's not what you focused on. So it doesn't, obviously subconsciously it's there, but it's not something I've ever sort of stood back and sort of thought about in the middle of it all.
I guess that's one of those key attributes that everyone that's passed the test has, is the ability to like zone in and...
I think that's what they aim for.
Right.
Not everyone has that, because I don't feel like it's a natural human instinct to
No,
sort of
yeah.
see that and not be bothered by it. But you learn to deal with it. Everyone sort of has their own ways of dealing, and because we work in shifts, I mean, you have your own watch. So where the police and ambulance sort of rotate through crews, and you might not be working with the same person from one day to the next, we work with the same people all the time.
Oh, okay.
Which lends itself to that sort of support for things like that, because I quite often see more of them than I will see of my mum or my brothers, and you sort of talk very openly about the things that you've seen, what you've done. And I think where some people might think, oh, well, is it the environment that sort of makes you comfortable to speak about it? You know, are people going to laugh at you? Because it is, some of, like, being on a shift is relentless. You've just got sort of, wow, I can't believe you just said that to me. And you sort of, everyone has a laugh, and sort of it goes to no holds barred sometimes. But on the flip side of that, everyone's always happy to sit and talk about what you've seen, if you need to talk about it or anything like that. And not necessarily in a formal way. Like you don't realise that you end up sat eating your breakfast talking about what you saw the day before.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the easiest way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because you're not putting too much, you're not giving it too much credit.
Yeah, you're not sat down in a formal meeting deconstructing everything that's happened.
And we do a bit of that, but I've not found that that's the best way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, now you're just making me think about it more.
You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of crazy situations that, because there was a lot that changed my perception. Hannah, who I had on, who's a car mechanic, she did a few years in the London Fire Brigade. Okay. And I had like when she was saying that the fire brigade sometimes are the first to deal with like suicide, and I think she dealt a lot with on rail. And then she was saying there was a lot of experiences that she didn't expect to be part of the job. Because I was like, how many times do you get cats out of trees? And she was like, not a lot.
I have done that. It's not an easy job to do.
I feel like it's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of weird or wonderful things that you've done and then come away and thought, wow, I didn't think that was possible, or B, in terms of like for someone to get in that pickle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild, honestly. So we always sort of say, if you ever find yourself in a situation and you don't know who to ask for help, it's generally us.
Right.
The fire service in general, the spectrum of things that we can resolve is massive. As a tech rescue team, some of the things you see is just absolutely unreal. I don't know what is your...
There's no bars limit on this.
You would be horrified and surprised to find out how many people get cock rings stuck. Honestly, I was like, we're doing what? And the length of time they will spend with it stuck before they seek professional help.
Well, yeah, because the
By which
embarrassment.
time it is not a pleasant experience for anybody involved. Like, you're talking a week. People... Because, I mean, wouldn't you be mortified? You wouldn't want to go to hospital,
You'd think he was going
to
to drop off.
Well, it looks like it might. And it's, honestly, this is very, like, feel free to cut this out if
No,
it's
this
too
is
much.
staying.
So, when it's been stuck on that long,
Yeah.
and you release it, and it's horrible the way that we do it. Have you ever used a multi-tool, like a Dremel?
Yeah. Oh, shit, you cut through it?
Because quite a lot of people have like titanium. What is wrong with silicone? The world, if anyone is listening, use a silicone concrete. So like, and they'll like quite often wedge far more in than ever needs to go through, and you like Dremel, but then the medical side of it to stop it dropping off, like the vigour with which they massage it afterwards, you're sort of like, wow.
Oh, so do you then have to take them, or would someone on your team do that?
No, so that is where we will all stand back and go, I'm not touching that anymore. We get called in hospital generally, so the hospital will ask us to go, and they've got limited tools to remove rings in hospital, like because we do finger rings as well, it's just not as interesting. And so they're nearly always in definitive care when we do it.
Right.
So it's normally a doctor will, and you're sort of like, what are you doing? That looks really horrible. And he's like, well, it's either that or his penis drops off, so you can
you can choose.
And you like to watch people like writhe about and squeal like pigs.
Oh.
So I would say that's like funny,
Yeah.
and obviously not for the person involved.
No.
But I mean, some people, you've just got to own it. I feel like if you get in that
Yeah.
situation, you can't be shy about it, because it's never like a one person helping you out situation either. It's a full hospital viewing. Like, I mean, we work in crews of 4 as a minimum, so you've got at least 4 of us stood there.
Oh, wow.
And then whatever sort of medical team are in as well. But other interesting jobs, I don't know, we go to so many, and I've sort of got to the point now where I'm like, oh, well, it's
kind of
just a
seen it
job,
all.
and other people are like, no, that is actually quite interesting. But we do, I think that sort of broad spectrum, so the sort of suicide side of it, I didn't expect to deal with.
Yeah.
But obviously, depending how they've died, if it's a height, we have to deal with it, because they've got no way of sort of retrieving the body if it's suspended.
Right.
And line rescue is our remit. I don't know, what other things do we sort of go to? The position people get cars into.
It's kind of scary, right?
Well, I'm like, how did that even happen? Like, and in such a short space of time. So we went to a car on its roof, about 10 yards from the junction it had come out of, that was a car park. So, and I'm like, how have you ended up? It was a Fiat 500 on a, like, just a side road.
Yeah.
It had come out of a car park, and literally 10 yards down the road, it was on its roof. And I'm like, at what point did it turn over? Like, did someone come and push it over? And it was fully flipped. Like, I think the girl we got out had a broken wrist. But you're like, well,
How did you do, like, there's got to be some sort of, like, trajectory uplift.
but you're sort of looking around and you're like, well, I don't really know how you've got into that situation, but we can get you out of it. But I am quite intrigued as to how you ended up there.
Did you find out?
No, I don't.
She didn't really know.
No, we never get to find out, which is the frustrating thing, actually.
Oh, that, yeah.
Like, you never get to find out unless people are really grateful generally. So if they come back and thank you, obviously you find out sort of what happened. But after we've rescued people, generally you don't hear any more about it.
Right.
Which sort of feeds back into that, like, how do you deal with the mental side of it? Makes it a little bit harder sometimes, because if you don't know to what capacity you've helped someone.
Yeah.
It
Do you get, is the same happen, say, if somebody is rescued from a car and then they go to hospital, do you find out the outcome or not?
Usually through Yap app or
Oh, really?
on Facebook, yeah. So the only time I've ever been really taken aback was a really serious collision in Bradford. We'd sort of been to in the middle of the night, and it was a triple fatality, I think.
Wow.
And you sort of look at those people and you don't really see them because you're working, trying your hardest to save them.
Yeah.
And we ended up working on one of the lads for the best part of an hour. It was on Yap app before we got back to station. And the next morning, I was just scrolling on Facebook like you do.
Yeah.
And one of my friends had shared this news article. And I, like, second looked, and I was like, they do not look like the people that we pulled out.
Oh, really?
And they were.
Yeah.
And I was sort of like, oh, that's made me feel a bit funny. 'Cause
Yeah.
they look so different. And that's the only time I've ever sort of been, whoa, that's made me feel a bit funny. I don't know how I feel about it. But just sort of.
Just one of those things.
Yeah.
I won't share my silly thing that I did share with Jack. Well, I suppose I've preempted it now, but I was a couple of weeks ago, this is the height of I really need to sort my ADHD out, left my burner on,
Good.
But noticed before I went to bed and turned it off. That's why I don't cook in my household, because I cannot be trusted. Jack was like, "That's so super serious." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, I'll never do it again, Jack." He was
I'm really
like,
sorry.
He was like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "I'm not laughing." But is there anything based off your whole experience in the fire service that you would just like ever want to say to people? Because I know I had a guest on a couple of weeks ago, and she's a para surfer, and she lost her leg. Zoe, she's incredible. And we didn't talk about it on the show, but I know she lost her below the knee in a car accident. And really interestingly, and it got me thinking, is because I see so many girls do it. She had her leg on the
All right, on the dashboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think she's put posts out about do not fucking do this, because
Yeah.
that's how I lost my leg. Is there anything that you kind of see time and time again which you wish you could just say to either like young people or anyone, just don't fucking do this?
Well, it's so cliche, but like, and I don't think you give enough credit to the things that are constantly pumped out. Wear your seatbelt.
Right, yeah.
What a seatbelt will do is wild.
Really?
Yeah. So because we are on the TIU, we go to jobs, car on its roof. That's one of our things. And we went to a job either last summer or the summer before. There were two lads in a car that had rolled. One had his seatbelt on, got up and walked away, and we pulled the other out of the back seat of the car.
Shit.
It is like soup. So what a seatbelt will do, because he had a seatbelt on and he didn't.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's wild. And I feel like it's really cliche, because you're like...
It is, isn't it? But I mean, I don't know anyone now that wouldn't put their seatbelt on, but I bet there is.
See, you look around, driving around Bradford, and for me, I get in, put my seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Like, it's second nature.
Uh-huh.
And the amount of, like, I just catch it sometimes, especially sat in a fire engine, because you're higher
up, yeah.
And it's like you feel really like you're lording it over people and being really self-righteous, but there's like kids crawling around on the back seat. I'm like you are asking for an absolute disaster.
Yeah, that gives me.
And I am telling you now, you'll blame yourself. So
yeah.
Why are they crawling around on the back seat? But they're like shit people give you. If you like knock on the window and you're like telling them, if you pull up at lights.
Yeah.
It's not something I would ever do in my own van. I feel like I probably should. It'd be morally more acceptable. But like in a fire engine, you feel like you've got a little bit more sort of force behind what you're telling people to do. And I'm like, and they're like, look, they give you, they're like, what are you? Yeah, no. We're like, well,
just fucking do it.
Yeah, that drink driving. Unfortunately, the perception we sort of end up with is that drink drivers always come off better, but it's the other people that are involved.
Yeah.
Because when you're drunk or under the influence of drugs, obviously at the moment, like, drugs are endemic.
Yeah.
And people drive sort of, and because you're under the influence, your body don't react as fast. So you actually go like floppy when...
So you're actually
as a car crashes, like human instinct is to tense up.
Yeah.
Which is where like injuries then come from, because everything sort of impacts and can't go anywhere.
Right.
Whereas people that are mega, mega pissed are like rag dolls.
Yeah.
And
they come off a bit better.
they normally just get up and walk away.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, because car safety systems are brilliant.
Yeah.
If you use them.
Yeah.
But obviously we see the other side. They're like, what's left behind. The person who's in the wrong has got up and walked away, and you're left dealing with like what is left. And it absolutely blows my mind how many people do it.
Oh,
drink and drive. It's wild.
And so many accidents in the construction industry, and so many times I go to work, open the cabin door, and 80% have been
Smell.
like, some guys that I work with used to drink on average 12 to 15 pints a night and come in the next day.
Yeah, and they don't think about it.
No, to them they can function, so like almost like a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
But you're on a digger that is the most dangerous thing, that you can't see where you're slewing. As an engineer, I have to be fucking close to that. Like, I have seen so many near misses, and yet in their head, but they're not on form. They're like, it's like anything. It's a suppressant. It's like you're chilled, and it's so dangerous.
Like, so I had a drink last night, and I got up this morning. I thought, right, I can't drive, and Joe had to traipse from the other side of Bradford to drop me off. But I was like, well, there's just
no
no
risk.
point. Like,
yeah,
I'm not. And again, it feels like really like I'm holding the moral high ground when I'm saying it, but it's so, I think some people do it without realising, especially the morning after.
Yeah.
So my mum works in drug treatment now. That's what she does.
Right.
So she works in the cells, treating drugs and alcohol. So I don't know whether I've got more exposure to it than most people.
Okay.
So I don't know whether my sort of view of the proportion of people that are involved in that sort of behaviour is skewed.
Yeah.
Or whether actually that's just fair and some people are choosing not to see it. But yeah, just that like seatbelt, don't drink and drive. Or the current one is balloons and driving.
What, like
You know,
the...
like laughing gas.
Yeah.
And that never ends well either.
Jesus Christ, I didn't even think that shit was still around.
Yeah.
Like,
But you know the big, do you not see it at the side of the road, the big canisters?
yeah.
That's what it is. And generally they've always been thrown out of cars, so that's like what,
Fucking hell.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm really telling people off now.
No, this is good.
But,
This is yeah.
Yeah, that's becoming an increasing issue actually. They're like, what? Because when we go to a crash, obviously, even if people aren't injured, the police will come and they're like, oh, well, you know, is there any of this in the car? And nearly always now, especially if you go into a job at like 1, 2 in the morning, where I don't like pinning it on young people because sometimes it's not.
Right.
And I hate that young drivers, like...
Get bashed for
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
But, like, there's always canisters and balloons in the car. And you're like... I don't know whether because people think it's like an instant high and then it's gone. It's...
Doesn't have an effect for long
yeah,
term.
but, like, well... And that's what we're finding sort of more and more often. That
Fucking hell.
that's what they've been doing when they're driving.
And swinging back to, like, when you come to, like, insanely difficult situations, I know you're trained for it, but is there anything that, like, if someone came to you and they're like, right, I want to do your job, could you pinpoint it to, like, 3 key attributes that either you've learned or you think are just within you that help you be the best at your job?
Yeah. Resilience
Right.
is huge. Sort of physically and mentally. Just... And not sort of being able to just bat things off, but at least being able to... That's something that I can deal with later.
Right.
Or so you can... Especially on the mental side of things, like I said, you sort of go to a job, you switch off, you do your job. We'll talk about it. It's okay to be bothered by it, but you've sort of got to do your job and then be bothered by it. The physical resilience is massive because where crews are smaller, so you've got less people to do the same or more amount of work, and there's nothing worse than someone that needs a break halfway through what you're trying to do.
Right, okay,
and
so you physically...
Obviously some of that is fitness,
Yeah.
but some of it is just like, you can push through. Obviously, like a CrossFit workout, you sort of get halfway through, you're like, oh, I really don't want to do anymore.
Halfway through, I'm about 5 minutes in, I'm going, what I'm questioning my life choices
But
here.
it is that like, and that's, I don't know whether, so like I said, obviously, I do CrossFit, and I've done well to last this long without mentioning it. But quite a lot of other firefighters, it's something that seems to sort of invite it, and it is that like, just pushing, head down, switch off, just grafting, because some of the work's just horribly sweaty.
Yeah.
And for not a lot of sort of reward, but I mean, it needs doing, and the quicker you do it, the quicker it's done.
I like that. So that's why because you do see people at CrossFit that are in similar. There's quite a few firefighters, police.
Like breeding.
Yeah, but how you put it there makes sense. Is that you know it's going to be really fucking hard, but it's just the grit to get through it and dealing with each thing as it comes along. And I think it does. It massively sets you aside from the weakness. I mean, I think Connie said something similar in that I said to her when it gets really hard, and she was like, "You just have to tell yourself to stop being a pussy." And we shouldn't say it in these words, but in essence,
That is literally it, though.
keep going. She's like, and she can spot people that are like giving up when they actually don't need to, which I hate because now I know that every time she's in the gym, she's training. I'm like, oh, I can't.
Don't let it be me.
Yeah, just you know, she's judging you. She's judging you. Just keep.
Do you
going.
know what? She is like one of the best things that ever happened to me in that gym, because I'm like, she's just brutal.
Yeah.
She's like, no, you can lift more than that. I'm like, okay, I can lift more than that. Yeah, and actually, I am that person at work. And those words may or may not have come out of my mouth previously. Stop being a bitch.
Just get on with it.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I don't really care. I want to finish what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the faster we all move, I know it's horrible, but the faster it's done.
Yeah.
So,
but I'd want, if I was in an accident or there was a fire, I'd want somebody like you that has that, because the last thing you want is someone that turns up and is even in questioning their ability, I guess, is one of those things. Like, you seem someone that has always taken on a challenge and pushed through. Did you have those kind of attributes as a kid?
I don't know if naturally I did, but I picked it up. So I started doing gymnastics when I was 8. I just got picked up at school. They said, we want you to come and do it.
Okay.
I was tiny and really bendy.
Right.
So they were like, that's what we want. Proper like old school traditional gymnastics like qualities. And from there I ended up training quite quickly, sort of 5 days a week. And that environment breeds that sort of resilience.
It's kind of, you keep going, you push hard,
so whether I'd have had it if I hadn't have done that, it's hard to say, but I think there's definitely, it's come from there, it's been bred into me, I've grown up like that. It's not something I picked up just by joining the fire service.
Yeah.
I work really well actually with people watching me. I never want to be the weak link.
Okay.
Which is horrible sometimes because you're like, I really need someone to give up because I want to stop. But I'm quite lucky then that because you're always surrounded by other people working, that will push me to sort of carry on going.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. Obviously, people are different. Some people just don't have that. It's not where their interests lie. It's not.
Yeah.
They're like, well, no, why would I want to dig myself into a hole?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, true. I don't really know why I want to do it either, but I just can't seem to help it.
But it's not, so many people that you speak to that either go to the gym and can lift or they've got a very physical job, a lot of them will say it's not really the physicality. Like, it's amazing what the body can do. It's the mental strength.
Yeah. And because that, like, you're far more physically capable, I think, than you ever realise that you are.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, ability to switch off and just head down and go.
Yeah.
That sort of gives you that, that mental strength, I suppose.
Yeah,
that resilience. So I suppose, I split it into physical and mental, didn't I? But it is all mental at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because like you said, and I think most people, if they absolutely had to, would be able to push. So like, say you went to a high-rise fire on the 14th floor of a block of flats where you know there's people trapped inside, you'd be running up them stairs, your lungs would be screaming at you, but you'd probably keep going.
Yeah, because it's fight.
And I mean, it's not something we do a lot. So I'm not saying I do it every day, but it's that sort of, that's like the level that I hold myself to. Would I be able to do that?
Do you think there's that superhuman? So, like, for example, if there was a fire over the road and I ran outside and I knew no one could get in there but I'd see someone, like, do you think if I really wanted to, I could go and physically lift like a normal man?
I don't really know. Like, obviously, everyone's got their physical limits.
Yeah, I reckon there's some sort of like thing that kicks in, though, isn't there?
Well,
that, like,
it's adrenaline. Yeah.
Yeah, adrenaline. Yeah.
I think that's got a lot to answer in those sort of situations.
Yeah.
And it comes back to that sort of resilience as to whether you'd try.
Good point, because some people would just not.
Some people just go, I can't do that.
So that's a mindset before you've even.
And I mean, I'm not judging anyone that won't run into a burning building. Like,
yeah.
Because I sometimes question it. I'm like, I do it at work. Obviously, no questions asked. I've got all the kit. But then I'm like, if I drove past a house that was on fire, would I? I don't really know whether I would go in. It's almost like that made a rod for my own back. I know too much about
what you could be facing.
Yeah, or more that, like, well, I know that if I've got the right kit on, it's fine, but it's going to be a really horrible job to do without any sort of clean air or fire kit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's superhuman strength. I think that sort of situation just maybe, you know, like did they say something like you only use a really small percentage of your brain on a regular basis?
Yeah.
And I think it's just like that. Like, people put themselves in that situation and realise actually they're just far more capable than they realised.
Than they ever really had, yeah.
Yeah.
And you love your job that you do now. What does the future hold? Because you're still, so you've been in 6 years, you're in 21 years, 27?
Yeah.
Good maths there, Michelle.
That's better than me. I told someone I was 26 the other day. So
let's just keep that. I keep going, I'm 39, but I'm actually 40. What do you want to do? Like, do you have any aspect? I mean, you've achieved so much already, but like, what?
Yeah,
where would you
I sometimes say that I've almost set myself up to fail now.
Okay.
Because I've done so much so quickly, and I never intended to. Like, I wouldn't consider myself like a high flyer in a professional setting at all. I've got no interest in promotion particularly, and it's something that I struggle with actually. I'm sort of like, well, I don't know, do I want to do that forever? Because I've sort of got to a point where I'm like, there are still challenges that present themselves, but I've no longer got that sort of the everyday challenge that I had at training school,
Okay.
or the everyday challenge I had when I first joined Tech Rescue, and you have to learn loads of new skills.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'm constantly looking for something else to sort of...
What's next?
Yeah, and it's hard. I don't really know. I think because I'm not daft enough to leave the fire service.
Yeah.
It is the best job in the world, even though it's not always... Like, no one has 100% of good days.
Yeah.
So, but there is not much that can compete with that. So it's put me in sort of a situation where I'm like, I'm not sure it is what I want to do forever.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I don't like the job, but just because that's who I am.
Yeah.
I get bored easily. But I don't know what comes next because it's like a really high...
It's a high bar, isn't it?
High bar, yeah.
Are you looking now outside of that? So like hobbies, I say hobbies, but like CrossFit, like would you ever kind of have that as your job and then think, right, what outside of that? I'm just thinking, because I've been watching Celebrity SAS, I was like, you'd absolutely smash that.
Yeah. I don't know. I've done a little bit of PTing. A lot of
Okay.
firefighters have second jobs. I hated it.
Oh, did you?
Actually, for some of the stuff we've already talked about, like people's perception of what is hard, I really struggled to...
Did you just want to shout, stop being a pussy?
Yeah, and most people really don't deal with that very well. I do sometimes wish I could go back to like the preschool and recreational gymnastics coaching.
Oh, all right.
But
Okay.
it just doesn't really work with the shifts that I do now.
Yeah.
Whether down the line I work different shifts and it does work, it might. But I've like considered a couple of different things like that. The forces has always sort of been in the background. Is
Yeah.
that something I'd like to do? And like there's a couple of lads that I work with now that are ex-forces, and they're like, it's for you. But then, like, I was chatting to Max about it the other day, obviously ex-forces, and he said, I'm not sure it is for you, actually. And I was like, you're the first person to ever say that. But, like, I respect him and his opinion, so...
Or he's doing the reverse psychology.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, go. I don't know. It's a bit... I think it's really intimidating that I've almost got too many options. And, like, I could do anything now.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is like... I'd love to work outside or just be outside. I mean, I was very lucky. I spent 5 weeks in Norway this year.
Oh, wow.
I've got a camper van, so off I went, and I thought I could live outside,
Yeah.
just trundling around.
What about lumberjack?
So funny enough, every time I go either up to the lakes or up to Scotland, I'm like, I wonder if the Forestry Commission's got any jobs.
Yeah.
And they do a forestry apprenticeship every year, but I think it's quite hotly contested, and I can never seem to find it when it's open. And that is just like chopping trees down, building fences, and there's a part of me that's just like, it's lacking all the like high-paced challenge of my current job,
Yeah.
but just outside, like playing with trees.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, what have you ever thought about? I think they still do them. You know, like where they get wildfires in America and they have the outposts.
Oh, like fire lookouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I mean, my mum, bless her, she has got like she's so proud of me, but it gives her a really skewed perception of what I am capable of. She was like, well, I've just been to Canada and they have what's called smoke jumpers. So their wildfire seasons are so bad that they have, and a lot of them are ex-special forces, I think. They jump out of planes into the middle of the forests and fight fires for months.
Shit.
And she was like, don't you think you could do that?
I love your mum.
I was like, no, I really don't think I could do that. She's like, well, you do part of it. I'm like, right, our wildfires and their wildfires, vastly different. And also, I've never jumped out of a plane, so I really don't think I could just turn up and do that. She was like, well, they might be recruiting. Margie, she was like, because she went to stay with her auntie, she was like, Margie said they need firefighters. I was like, all right, but I think we might need to reconsider at what level I am doing that.
Yeah, that's epic.
But like something like that, part of me is like, yeah, that kind of would be cool. But there's that like self-doubt as well. It's like, well, would I be capable of that? what if I go and I'm not?
Have you had more self-doubt the older you've got?
No, it's something I've always had.
Okay.
As a gymnast, I was terrible. My coach would be like, do you think I'd ask you to do something that you can't do? Yeah. Yes, I would. And then proceed to backflip straight onto my own head. I think it's something that's always held me back in a lot of things. As I've got older, I've learned to deal with it better, manage it better. So I'd just be like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to die, so I'll just try it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously within reason. Like, I'll try most things now, and I'm like, well, if I'm not very good at it, as long as I'm having fun, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But that, like, at work, that's a big thing as well. That self-doubt. And I think I set a standard for myself, like I said, to make sure I'm not the weakest link in any sort of... Or I try not to be the weakest link in any team that I'm in.
Yeah.
But that is like, you're constantly checking yourself then. And sometimes you like look around and you're like, does anyone else care? Because you're sort of in a room and you're like, well, are these, they're just doing their job. Are they thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Are they like, well, I need to be better than the person sat next to me? And I think that's quite a good thing, because you're always then like pushing yourself.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think when it cripples you.
Oh yeah, it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
But
I think everyone has that.
I think everyone should have some of it.
Yeah, there's people that don't, and they need
Because
to.
it holds you to a sort of, even just in a like personal sort of aspect. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I hold myself to, all right, I have manners.
Yeah.
I mean, you might ask the lads at work, they might say differently. Like, you know, things like eating with your knife and fork.
Yeah.
Like, and you sort of look at some people, you're like, wow.
They can't even do that.
You've really not checked yourself today. You know, and they're like really small examples of it, but...
No, I think once you get the small things right, the big things follow, and I think it's quite important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that is like, everyone's got, or should have at least some of it. But then you sort of, it's almost addictive, I find. So you're like, well, right, I've done what I set out to do. I doubted myself. I've proved that I can do it. And then there's like a bit of a void. So what have I got to do now?
Yeah, I think that's really important that you've said that, because when people talk about confidence, especially women, when they're like, I'm not that confident, I'm always like, you just have to do the first step, because it's like a stairs, like it's one step at a time. I think people think there's this, oh, I'll do this and then I'll be confident. I'm like, no one is ever super confident. It's just like, it's that little win, isn't it? And it's so compound effect is huge.
That's it. And I've like in a sort of, I don't have many, like a big group of friends. I've never been surrounded by a lot of women or anything like that. I mean, I've got 2 brothers. And then obviously I work in a male-dominated environment at the gym. Like, most of the time that I'm there, it's all boys.
Yeah.
But the only time I've ever experienced that sort of in a really feminine circle was at school. And I'm like, I still was relatively athletic, quite fit. Academically, I always did all right. And I picked up on it then, and it's not until sort of I look back on it now and I'm like, that was what was happening. So, like, there was one girl, and it'll always stick with me. She's like, I just want to look like you. I just want to be like you. And I'm like, well, being me is not so great. Like, I've got all the same things that you've got. I might just be 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
I've gone up that step. I've done this. I'm still worried about the next bit. You know, you're on your step. You're worried about the next bit. It's sort of, I think people get skewed. And I've found it definitely in, like, fitness. And it's more obvious in an aesthetic way. People are like, oh, you must be so self-confident, you must be... And I'm like, well, that never changes. I don't think you sort of... Obviously, some people naturally are more self-confident than others, but you're chasing happiness all the time. It's not a line at which you cross.
Yeah. There's always someone that you will look to that's... So, like, I've always felt quite confident in gyms until I went to CrossFit. And that's weird, because, like, everyone is so lovely there. Yeah. But I've always been... I think, you know, I feel like I'm older now, and then I've always done like team sports, and CrossFit is so on you, and whilst it is social, it's also not social, because it's just you and whatever you're working on. But I remember just thinking, like, I think the first attempt of like lifting anything, and Jack was like, oh, you need to just concentrate. I'd never lifted anything before. He's like, just concentrate on your form. And even now, like there's times where I'll take weights off and just use a bar, and I'm like, when am I gonna get to just like, you see everyone lifting like heavy, and I'm like, I'm just still on the bar. It's just still on the bar. But it's nice to go back to that in whatever field. So like being a beginner or something. Same with the podcast. It's not something I was doing day in, day out. And I think so many people don't do that. Yeah. And then you're like, well, you can't learn.
Yeah, they're like scared to be a bit shit.
Yeah.
But because I mean, it sounded really cheesy in my head actually, but I was just thinking it when you were saying that. CrossFit's a really good example of it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think and I'm guilty of it, I think everybody is, nobody ever actually is looking back and laughing. People are always looking above them. So wherever you sit in that pecking order, you almost don't need to worry, because what you're actually worried about isn't happening. Yeah. You're sort of looking around and you're like, oh, these people might be thinking that I'm not lifting as much as they are. Yeah. But actually, those people are thinking, oh, I'm not lifting as much as Connie. Yeah. And it's that like...
Yeah, it's the constant...
Yeah, and like... CrossFit makes it like really easy to give a real life example, but that happens just in all aspects of life. I think. Like you're always worried about what other people think, but actually other people are worried actually about what other people are thinking. Yeah. Not worried about what you're thinking about yourself or about you.
It's like so when you think about it, it's like no, nobody actually cares. Yeah. Like what
I catch myself sometimes. I don't know if cynicism is like the right word for it, but I'm like, why are you worrying about that? No one else in this room is worrying about that. Yeah. And like, not just with like CrossFit and performance, just in all aspects. I'm like, well, what if so-and-so saw me do that and I didn't do it right? And you're like, actually, no. Nobody cares. I've got really good at like just calling myself out for bullshit. Yeah. And I don't know why. Yeah. I think I've got a lot of time on my hands. I've learned to like spend time reflecting on.
I think because you could also see like how it can really hold you back as well. Yeah. And if if you just push through it, I imagine there's so many people that have walked into a gym and then not gone back for those very reasons, and that's really important, isn't it? Is to be like, no.
I hate that as well. Like, Jack always laughs at me. People think I'm intimidating. And I was
really?
I really don't think I am. But I've had it said to me quite a few times, and I always make an effort to like go and I mean at work I think it happens as well. I've got just one of them faces. I'm always like, especially if it's before lunchtime. Yeah. I'm like, leave me alone. But like I make a concerted effort to, I think especially in the gym, just because it's where I feel comfortable, to then try and make other people feel comfortable. Yeah. I don't know, sometimes it gets a little bit patronising. Like, I wish this person would leave me alone. I'm like, are you having a nice time? Are you still really enjoying it? And I think sometimes it ends up feeling really insincere, but I'm like, that's the only way I know how to do it. I'm like, I just need to check that you're not leaving, are you? Still having a good time? No one's being mean to you, are they? And I do it at work. I'm like, oh, are you enjoying this job? Do you want to come and work here? Here's the best place to work. I think you should come and do it.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think sometimes that comes with just confidence in like knowing who you are. I think when I was younger, I had a bar job and something happened and there was a night out and one of the girls was like, oh, a few girls are not coming. I was like, why? And they were like, they feel a little bit intimidated by you. And I was like, what? And it was, I think this was pre-construction, but I was always been really comfortable with guys, like on a friendship level. Like I felt more, I went to an all-girls school and I think that probably contributed to it, but I just felt when I was released to guys more comfortable. And I think some women found that quite intimidating, and so one of my mates called me out on it and they were like, you know, you're just super comfortable with them all, and I was like, okay, but that's not taking out the situation, that's not my fault, like that's just how it is. But I think sometimes people misconceive that as not approachable or a little bit like intimidating, and I think it's a shame, isn't it? Because I think actually you probably have a lot to give to those people by just having a friendly chat. And
I'm like a human golden retriever.
How are you? Is that your like spirit animal?
Not on the outside, but definitely on the inside. But and I've never really thought about it. Maybe it is that like masculine influence that.
Yeah, I think you get this like, facade, don't you? That you, I had it the same.
But because that's just the space that you're in, and you always have been.
It's what you know. It's learnt behaviour.
It don't register for you. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Well, your story is incredible. I'm so excited to see where you go, whether that is dropping out of planes or
I don't think it will
or being a lumberjack. That's epic. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Not a problem. I feel like I chatted utter nonsense.
No, you did absolutely amazing. Yeah, incredible.